Time for Kids Biographies. Theodore Roosevelt, the Adventurous President, by the editors of Time for Kids with Lisa Diamaro. Okay, here are the table of contents. In Chapter 1, Teddy takes the lead. Chapter 2, Teddy's busy boyhood. Chapter 3, Teddy enters politics. Chapter 4, Cowboy on the Range. Chapter 5, Teddy and the Rough Riders. Chapter 6, President for a Square Deal. Chapter 7, Teddy and the Bull Moosers. Chapter 8, Teddy, the One and Only. And an interview talking about Teddy and a timeline. Theodore Roosevelt's key dates. Teddy takes the lead, Chapter 1. It was early winter and the evening was chilly. The President of the United States wanted to take a walk. He left the White House with a few friends. The President was in the lead. The others hurried to keep up. They chatted and joked. When the President laughed, his whole body shook. He threw back his head and flashed a mouth full of white teeth. The group stayed on a straight path. They never turned left or right. They climbed hills and pushed through bushes. Was there a puddle in the way? They splashed right through it. Straight on they went. Then they stopped at the wooded banks of the Potomac River.
When you play hard. When you work, don't play at all. Theodore Roosevelt. Theodore Roosevelt stood still for this photo. It was taken in 1900.
Would the President be turned back? No way. He began to undress. So did the others. They piled their clothes on the riverbank. Then, one by one, they jumped into the water and swam for the other side. This may have been a strange way to act, but not for Theodore Roosevelt. He was the 26th President of the United States, and almost everything about him was unusual. President Roosevelt, or Teddy, was full of energy. He didn't just hike. He boxed, wrestled, played tennis, and rode horses. Teddy liked to keep busy, and he liked to get things done. Once he set a goal, he wouldn't let anything stand in his way. That's why he liked his point-to-point walks. He set out from one point and went straight to another point. He didn't let anything force him off of his path, not even the Potomac River. Good timing. Teddy became president in 1901. He was the perfect man for the job, a new kind of president for a new century. He wanted to push the country in a different direction. Teddy chopped down trees and cleared land for exercise. Times were changing. The United States continued to grow. Settlers kept moving farther west. The country's leaders worried about problems inside the U.S. The nation stayed out of world events. Teddy wanted the U.S. to be a good world leader. He wanted to set big, important goals. And then he wanted the country to march towards its goal, no matter what. He saw the future of the country as if it were a giant point-to-point hike, and he was the man to lead. How did Teddy get to be the way he was? Why did he make the choices he made? To find the answers, you will have to go back to the time when Teddy was just beginning his life. And up here, this caption over here at this picture says, heading west. As the U.S. grew, many people loaded up wagons and headed west. In 1800, there were 16 states. By 1900, there were 45. Look at how they're traveling by horse and wagon. So, Chapter 2, Teddy's Busy Boyhood. Here's a picture of when he was 4 years old. Teddy posed for this photo. Check out his clothing. Doesn't it look a little different from what you or I wear? When Teddy was a little boy, his nickname was Teedy. Later on, people would call him Teddy, but he never liked that name. Teedy lived in New York City. The Roosevelt family had lived there for hundreds of years. Teedy's father was Theodore Roosevelt Sr. He had strong ideas about how people should act. He believed that everyone should work hard. He also believed he had a duty to help others, including those less fortunate. Teedy's mother, Martha, was from Georgia. She was known for her great beauty and her gentleness. She loved art and music. People called her by her nickname, Mitty. Teedy was born on October 27, 1858. When he was 2, a terrible war started in the U.S., the Civil War. It was a war fought mostly between the northern and southern parts of the U.S. Mitty was a Southerner. Her brothers fought in the war on the side of the South. Teddy Sr. was a Northerner. He believed in the cause of the North. What should he do? He knew it would hurt Mitty if he fought against the South. So Teddy Sr. did not go to war. Instead, he paid another man to fight in his place. And he did work for the Northern Army and that didn't involve fighting. Here is a picture here of Teddy's father, Theodore. And this is a picture of Teddy's mother, Martha, or her nickname to be Mitty. Teedy felt bad that his father stayed out of the war. He thought fighting was a duty. Years later, in another war, Teedy would jump at the chance to fight. But first, he had to grow up. This caption here says Teedy was a sickly child. This photo was taken when he was 11. A sickly kid. Teedy had 2 sisters, Anna and Corinne. He also had a younger brother, Elliot. All the Roosevelt children had health problems. Teedy's were the worst. He had bad stomach and head pains. He also had asthma. People with asthma have trouble getting enough oxygen into their lungs. Nowadays, there are many medicines for people with asthma. But when Teddy was little, doctors couldn't do much to help. Nights were especially hard for the young boy. When Teedy couldn't breathe, Teddy Sr. would take him for a fast carriage ride. His father would hold him tight as the horses galloped through the dark, empty streets. These rides seemed to help his lungs fill with fresh air. When Teedy was too sick to play, he sat and he looked at books. Before he learned to read, he studied pictures. He loved looking at animals best. When he wasn't sick, Teedy was full of energy. It was hard for him to sit still. During trips to the country, he spent all day outdoors. He rode horses, swam, and climbed trees. He was always moving. This picture, here's the caption. It says, the Roosevelts had this picture taken when they visited Egypt in 1872. Teddy is the second child from the right. So I'm thinking he's there. All right. So he rode horses, swam, and climbed trees. He was always moving. Animals everywhere. Even in the city, TD spent most of his time outside. Often he searched for unusual bugs and animals. He was very interested in studying them. The house was filled with his creatures. He kept snakes in the water pitchers. He kept snapping turtles in the washroom. Once he tipped his hat to a family friend on a streetcar, and out hopped two frogs. Imagine his friend's surprise. TD was interested in everything about animals. He cut apart dead animals to study their bones. He wanted to know what they ate and how long they lived. He drew pictures of birds and insects, and he described everything he saw. He wanted to be a naturalist, someone who studies plants and animals. As the years passed, TD's health did not improve. He was still weak and sick. When he was 12, his father took him aside. "Theodore," he said, "you must make your body. You must make your body. It is hard, dull work to make one's body, but I know you will do it." The young boy took the challenge. "I'll make my body," he said, so his father built him a gym. TD exercised for several hours every day. He wanted to build up his chest and his arms. The hard work paid off. When he was ready for college, Teddy was strong and healthy. This caption down here says Teddy's sideburns were growing into a beard when he was 17. You take a look up here, these are his sideburns, and they grew into a beard at 17. And over here on the other side, it says TD's Home Museum. TD set up a natural history museum at home. Wherever he went, he collected small animals such as frogs and turtles. He even learned how to use chemicals to preserve them. The chemicals smelled terrible. So did the dead animals. On family vacations, TD's brother, Elliot, begged to have a separate bathroom. He didn't want to share a sink or a bathtub with TD's creatures.